Sometimes there's also a little subcategory of RT3, reverse T3.
Okay.
But I bring this up because if you are like, wow, I align with a lot of the symptoms in thyroid, but my doctor says my thyroid is fine. If by chance they've just tested TSH, they haven't actually tested thyroid hormone. They have tested your brain talking to your thyroid and relying on that feedback loop. But what could be happening is that even your T4, your thyroid hormone amount could be fine, but is it converting? Because that active T3 hormone is what's interacting with your cells. That's what's giving like the life to the party. So you can have all this T4, but if you're not converting it, you're still going to feel hypothyroid, even though you may not be hypothyroid, if that makes sense.
Welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast, where fitness, mindset, and real talk collide. This isn't just about workouts. It's about transforming your body, mind, and life. Get ready for unfiltered conversations, expert advice, and the motivation you need to level up in every way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast. I am Melissa Vogel, your host. Welcome to the show. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. I'm so glad you are back for more. And if you are a first-time listener, I'm so happy to have you here. You have landed on an amazing episode. Today I'm recording this intro again. So you guys are getting me in like real time. You typically always do. I'm not one that like podcasts and then you hear my episode 4 months out. It's just not how I roll. I kind of like to keep you guys up to date on life and keep it in real time. So this isn't too far off from that. But last week, we had this whole like technical issue. So if you guys were on all platforms, right? And we like to think that, technology is our friend and they all work together, and sometimes they are not. And last week, we had on Jared St. Clair. So if you listened on iTunes, which a lot of people do, a lot of people have an iPhone and they just listen through the app. Well, if you were one of them that listened, you probably noticed that I introduced Jared and then we just went into this week's guest. There was no Jared on there. But if you listen on Spotify or Amazon, it was right there. So many of you messaged me, you sent in emails. I heard a lot of you on social media and you're like, there was no Jared. And I really wanted to hear what he said because it was all about creatine. So we're going to just leave it, because when you start messing with links and like all of that in the podcast world and everything in technology land, oh my God, you could like do yourself some serious damage. So I'm like, we're just going to leave it. And then I'm going to put in Jared's little segment back in this week's episode because I don't want you guys to miss it. It was that good. We are going to have Mr. Jared St. Clair on the show probably the beginning of every single month. And we're going to tackle different topics on supplements because he is the supplement guru. He's a supplement formulator. He's the host of Vitality Radio. He's a natural health educator, like with over 30 years experience. Jared is amazing. Jared is also one of my clients now. We have to talk about his journey. And he owns Vitality Nutrition. He's just like an incredible human. And I'm like, why don't we have you on? Help us break down and learn things about the supplement world. What is fact? What is fiction? What is garbage? What should we be taking? What should we not be taking? And so we're going to have him on. This first episode was all about creatine. It is one of the number one most asked questions, like, who should take it? Is it good for you? Like, are there any side effects? What do I need to watch out for? Jared answered everything. So I'm like, yeah, we need to put this back in the episode. So without any further ado, here's Mr. Jared St. Clair. As always, go to the show notes. We have links to Jared's store and we have a discount code too. Put in Bomb Mom. That code is still Bomb Mom, even though this is the Bomb Life Podcast. Don't ask questions. Use that code. You're going to get a discount on your order. We'll put a link to some amazing creatine in there as well, the kind that I take. And then I'm recommending to all my clients too, if you want a powder form. And listen to Jared's amazing clip on creatine. And then I will see you guys right after. Hey everyone. So today we have Jared St. Clair coming back on the show. Welcome, Jared.
I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. You guys, I talked about this before. We are going to have Jared on every single month because he is the supplement guru. He is the master. And it was so fun having you on the podcast before. Jared is also one of my clients now. So I'll have you back and talk about your journey with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the host of Vitality Radio. You are the owner of the store. What's the official name of the store?
Vitality Nutrition.
Vitality Nutrition. Okay. I was there. If I just
Yeah.
would have kept talking, I would have got it. He was on episode number 255, Vitality Unleashed. You are just a font of knowledge when it comes to this world, and you've been in it forever. So please, you guys, go back and listen to that episode. We have all of the links in the show notes. So if you hear this and you're like, I want to order this or that, everything's there for you. And we have a discount code too. I think it's Bomb Mom. You
Do we
guys
need
get a
to change it
discount.
to Bomb Life.
Maybe. Let's keep it a Bomb Mom right now, just so we
All
don't
right.
confuse anyone. Yeah, we'll keep it good for you guys. But Jared is just amazing, and I do have to give you credit, Jared, because I said all this before we hit record. He looks phenomenal, you guys. I'm making him blush.
I appreciate it. You're a good teacher. I'm learning.
Yeah,
I'm learning to actually do the fitness thing. I've known the supplement thing and the diet thing forever, but the fitness thing I have slacked on most of my life, and I'm glad to have you kind of walking me through it and learning how to do it. And
I know.
and it's been an adventure for 2 months. So we'll see what happens over the next several months.
It has been an adventure.
We're
But
making progress.
We are. And I love this exchange too, because that's where I come into your world. And this is where you're coming into my world with supplements and stuff. And that's why I was like, can you please come on? We have to have you on the show. And every week, so you guys write in. It's Melissa Vogel at gmail.com, or you can DM me messages or whatever you want, like on Instagram or something. We have a new big following on TikTok as well. So feel free, send me messages there. I'm clearing them out all the time. We want to know, what are your top questions with supplements? What do you need to know about gut health? Things like that. Anything in that world, right, Jared? Like you can
Any
tackle.
question you've got, I think we can probably tackle.
Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to talk about creatine, and this is perfect. We're just going to do these short little segments because last month I pushed creatine big time on my clients, and I'm so happy that they are listening and getting on it. So Jared, creatine. Talk to us about creatine for dummies. Why is this so important? And tell my listeners why I'm not crazy.
Well, first off, creatine has come with a stigma for a long time.
Mhm.
It's a product for men, and it's a product for people that go to the gym. And both of those things are true, but they're not exclusive. It is an incredible product for women. It is equally as effective and important for women as it is for men. And I will dare say it is as necessary for people who don't go to the gym as people who do. And we can talk about that too. But of course, most of the people, I think, listening to your podcast are at least, in the process of trying to get active, if not already doing it, right? So we can focus a little bit on that. But if you understand creatine, it's the simple parts that need to be understood that I think are oftentimes kind of misconstrued is that it is a natural supplement. It is not a hormone or associated with hormones in any real way. It doesn't make you bulkier or, just you start taking creatine and suddenly gain 10 pounds or anything like that. Creatine is found primarily in red meat. There's a few other places you can get it in your diet, but primarily in red meat. And if you are particularly stressing your body through exercise, your need for creatine comes up, and oftentimes comes up higher than what you're going to be able to get from red meat unless you're, full carnivore or something like that. So with supplementing creatine, all you're doing is giving your body more of that raw material that it needs to make what's called ATP. ATP is basically the fuel that the mitochondria produces for energy. And if you think about mitochondria and ATP, the highest concentrations of mitochondria and ATP are in the muscle cells specifically, which is why creatine has for decades now been used primarily by athletes.
Right.
But you know what the other highest concentrations are? The other highest concentrations are the heart, which of course is a muscle, and the brain.
Yep.
And so there's lots of good research showing now that creatine may be as important a nutrient as you can put in your body to prevent cognitive decline as we get older, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, other types of neurological issues. So there's some really, really valid and good research that proves that it's not just for bodybuilders. But if you're working out and you're working out without creatine, I don't know, to me, it's just a massive negative right out of the gate. There's no
I think so
good
too.
reason you
Mhm.
shouldn't be on this supplement, because let's just talk about even like the economics of it. A really good quality creatine you can get for like 30 cents a serving. This stuff's not expensive to use. You're talking, 10, 12 bucks a month or something like that. Now there are some really crappy creatines out there too. We can talk about that a little bit if you want. But cost shouldn't be prohibitive with creatine, not like it once was. Creatine used to be really expensive, but it's not anymore. It's easy to take. It's a powder that has basically no flavor to it. You can mix it in literally anything. You can sprinkle it on food if you want. You can put it in your protein shake with your electrolytes, put it wherever you
Mhm.
want
It's
to put it.
easy.
And it doesn't even matter what time of day you take it. That's another kind of misnomer. A lot of people think it has to be done pre-workout, but creatine works on saturation levels in the muscle tissue. So as long as you're saturating the muscle daily with it, it really doesn't matter if that's a half an hour before you work out or right before you go to bed or any other time of the day. It's just consistent use that matters. And the research indicates that basically 5 grams a day is good for pretty much anybody.
Okay. What about 10? Like, should anyone go up and increase?
Interestingly enough, there's quite a bit of research on higher doses, and none of it outperforms 5 all that much.
Yeah.
You can get a little quicker saturation back in the day, and I'm sure you remember this, Melissa. It was always you take 20 grams of creatine every day for the first 2 weeks. It was called the
Yes.
loading phase, right? And you would get there quicker in terms of muscle saturation, but you also ran the risk of higher dehydration issues
Mhm.
and things like that. And the research now basically indicates that take 5 grams a day. If you're a really big guy, 250, 300 pounds, maybe 7 grams,
Yeah.
but not more than that is really not needed. And the performance levels, the studies are almost all done on 5 grams anyway. And that seems to work equally well for someone trying to fend off dementia, or be able to get up out of a chair and up and down the stairs when you're in your 80s, as it is for someone who's trying to set a personal record on the bench press.
Now, why is there an increase on the scale when someone starts creatine? Because that's what everyone says. Oh, you're going to increase it. You're going to get a increase on the scale.
Yeah, oftentimes creatine will put a little bit more or help you retain more water in the muscle tissue.
Water. Yeah.
It is just water. And in most cases, my experience has been, and this is one thing that is important too. When you think about like clinical studies that are done, they're typically done over like 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, maybe 6 months, but most of
Mhm.
them are pretty short term. My experience just working with, real people that are coming and taking supplements on a daily basis and asking me questions has been that if you do get some water weight gain out of creatine right out of the gate, in most cases, your body kind of balances that out after a couple of months anyway. And you don't tend to hold on to as much water at that point, especially if you are consistently keeping yourself properly hydrated. Water
Yeah.
and electrolytes, your body is processing through creatine just fine. The only real contraindication of creatine in terms of any kind of potential harm is if someone has severely compromised kidney function. That's the only person that it appears creatine may actually be a negative for.
And I have horseshoe kidneys. I don't have severely compromised kidneys, but I do have horseshoe kidneys, and I had a ton of like kidney stones and stuff like that. And mine are like connected. I don't have two, they're like connected. Shocker that there's something really weird wrong with me inside.
Hasn't been problematic for you?
It hasn't, and I've actually had a lot of blood work done just to be able to say to, like, myself and to, like,
Right.
my listeners and followers too, like, even me with that going on with my body, it hasn't affected me at all. Everything came back great. So,
Well, and so do you want to talk about a couple of the studies that show what it actually does in terms of performance?
yes, that would be fabulous.
I think this is really, really helpful for people to put a number on it because it's like, okay,
Mhm.
creatine's great. I need it. What's it actually going to do?
Right.
So on what's called a 1 RM lift or a rep max, right? So
Mhm.
if you're just trying to do a deadlift at the very highest weight that you can, or a bench press at the very highest weight that you can, average increase in maximal strength is 5 to 15%, pretty much across the board. They have seen in some sedentary people who are starting to get into the gym for the first time increases of as much as 30 or 40%. So sometimes it is massive, but even 5 to
Yeah.
15% is a significant bump, right? I mean, that's not small at
Oh,
all.
yeah.
Muscle endurance gains of 10 to 15% in endurance capacity,
I believe that.
especially in high intensity, short duration, HIIT type
Mhm.
stuff. Lean body mass. This one's awesome because this is where a lot of ladies get nervous about creatine. They're like, well, I don't want to get bulky. And, I don't want to look like a guy and all this
Yeah.
stuff, women throw at us when we talk to them about creatine. But lean body mass is your ultimate weapon if you're looking to be fit, trim, thin, right?
I know.
Toned. We want lean body mass. Lean body mass makes for less fat mass and a lower body fat percentage.
Mhm.
And that makes for a higher metabolism. And in just a few weeks, the average individual who is exercising and using 5 grams of creatine per day, on average, is gaining 1 to 2 kilograms of lean body mass. And
Wow.
that's actual mass of muscle, not
Right.
loss, right?
Right.
That's real mass, the type of mass that we want. So these are pretty impressive numbers for people over 50, which, Melissa, do you know roughly like your demographics on this show? Is it mostly under, mostly over?
We're 35 to 65. So we have a
Right in
very
the
big
middle.
range.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is interesting. I'm 52 years old. Creatine supplementation combined with resistance training in adults over 50. The results show that creatine supplementation led to an increase in lean body mass by an average of 1.4 kilograms compared to placebo. For people over 50, that is a crazy number. People over 50 in America, on average, are losing 1%
Yep.
lean mass per year.
Hmm.
These people were stemming the tide over just a few weeks at over 50 years old.
That's crazy.
It's crazy and it's awesome, right? Because that's the biggest concern with people over 50 in America is
I know.
that nobody talks about is something called sarcopenia. Women often think about osteoporosis, and they should. It's a big risk factor and lots of problems associated with it, but nobody talks about sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is basically osteoporosis of the muscle tissue. It's the muscle actually wasting as we get older. And in America, on average, 50-year-olds, both in male and female, are losing muscle on a regular basis. They're actually experiencing sarcopenia, and sarcopenia, because muscle and skeletal, it is the musculoskeletal system. They are a system that hold each other together. If you have sarcopenia, you have a much higher risk of bone loss. And we know what comes with that, right? Everything
Exactly.
from
Yeah.
hip
Yeah.
fracture to the hunchback and everything else that can come with it. So
And
creatine
you
plays
just,
a role in all of that.
yeah. And once they hit that, you just don't recover the same. You're just, some people are just downhill. I mean, how many stories do you hear of like, oh, grandma broke her hip and then a couple months later she passed? Like people just don't recover from those types of things. So I got to know, how do I know if my creatine's good? Is there bad? Like, is it okay if
Yeah.
I take a gummy form? Is it okay if I take a pill or a powder?
So the advantage of a powder over a gummy or a pill is just cost.
Okay.
It's the least expensive way to do it because the
Yes.
manufacturing price is cheaper, right?
Perfect.
I don't see any real reason personally to do a gummy or a pill unless you just absolutely hate the idea of mixing a powder into something. If that's how you
Why,
are,
that's me.
you want to pop a couple of gummies or you want to take capsules, you got to take 5 capsules or typically 5 to 6 capsules, depending on the potency.
Yeah.
It's only one time a day, but it's that many capsules. And you're going to pay probably twice as much for a capsule versus a powder. If you don't care, creatine, even in capsule form, is not expensive. So if it's just a convenience factor, I personally take enough capsules of stuff that I actually prefer a powder because it's less pills that I got to take on top
I
of.
know. That's why I'm doing a gummy, but I should just switch to the powder.
Yeah. And the gummies are kind of fun. It's different. And as long as you're getting a gummy that's relatively clean, because there are some kind of junky gummies out there, then that's okay. The key with creatine really is most creatine now is coming out of China. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There are good
Okay.
supplements that come from China, but there's a lot of crap coming out of China. The best creatines that I have seen that are verified at the highest level of purity are one called CreaPure. Now, that's not made by CreaPure, is a brand name of creatine, and it's sold by a bunch of other companies. And so the bottle would be maybe any number of different brands, but on the back, it'll say it's CreaPure creatine. That's a German creatine. They have a very, very high concentration of purity. It's 99.99% pure. Another one's called PharmaPure that I really, really like. That one's actually put out by just one company, a company called NutriBio. That's personally the one I use, and I really, really like that. in terms of the studies, cleanliness, I guess, of the product, contaminants, all that, it's pretty much equal to Creapure. So same stuff, different brand. Brands that are just kind of random brands that don't show any type of trademark form of creatine, especially if the price seems really, really low, there's a pretty good chance they're just getting some cheap stuff out of China that might be like a 97% pure. If you think about it, 97% pure versus 99.9% pure doesn't seem dramatically different, but when you look at 2 or 3% impurities, depending on what those are, it can actually be a problem. In some cases, they're contaminants. There's some research indicating that sometimes that can even be DHT that's in there, dihydrotestosterone, which you don't want, male or female, extra of. So better to, spend the extra few bucks on a really, really good quality creatine, especially when you consider creatine's not expensive anyway.
Jared, can we get creatine from you?
You can get creatine from us. Yeah, we carry the PharmaPure one.
Awesome.
I like it actually more than Creapure, only because Creapure is kind of the, I don't know, they're like the name brand in creatine, and they charge for it. It's great stuff, but it's more expensive and it doesn't necessarily need to be. Okay. So I like the PharmaPure from NutriBio because it's about 20 to 25% cheaper and all the lab assays check out.
Okay. Can you get us a link?
Yeah, absolutely. We can put that in your show description if you'd like.
We will put that in the show notes, you guys, because I know everyone's going to ask me for a link for it. And then you guys can use your code too. You can use your BOMB code on there and save for your
just so people know too, Melissa, before they even go to the link, when I talk about an inexpensive supplement, 60-day supply of the PharmaPure creatine from NutriBio is like $24. So you're talking $12 a month.
Oh my God.
It's not expensive. And if you want to stock up and get they have a big bottle, it's 200 servings, $57. It lasts you, 3/4 of a year almost.
That's a no-brainer. That is such a no-brainer and such an easy way to improve your overall health and well-being and brain and heart. Like, yeah. Okay, guys, go to the link and order your creatine today. Don't put it off.
It really is one of the most cost-effective, no-brainer supplements on the market. And
seriously,
equally great for women and men. And I want to throw this out there too. I know you have a lot of moms and dads in the audience like we are. I think it's an awesome supplement for teens as well. But now,
that's a good question. Can our teen
lots
take
of parents are scared to give it to their teens because they think it's like going to change their hormones or mess with puberty or any of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of research actually on teens and young, like 18, 19, 20-year-olds, college athletes, that kind of stuff. They just don't find issues with creatine unless you either, again, have impaired kidney function or if you're taking way too much and not drinking enough water. So just make sure your kids are staying hydrated. I gave it to my teenagers all the way through basketball and football and all the sports that they were playing. Never even thought twice about it. Never had a problem.
Interesting. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because, there will be a lot of people that are wondering that too. And that's good to know. Good to know. Get the big bag, you guys. Share with your teens, your athletes. No brainer. Oh, Jared, thank you so much for coming on. You guys submit your questions because we're going to keep doing these. We're going to keep having Jared on. And then, Jared, let's record another episode too, talking about your fitness journey. Make sure you guys go over and listen to Vitality Radio because it is just so much good information about Jared's journey, his wife's journey, their store, supplements, mindset. Like, I mean, you name it, you cover it, right? Am I getting it?
I try. Yeah. I mean, I kind of put myself out there as the guy that can answer the hard supplement questions. Supplements are so overhyped and marketed now. It's hard to know who's telling you the truth, who's just trying to pull one over on you. And so my show, I mean, full disclosure, I sell supplements for a living, right? We've already discussed that.
Right.
So I'm going to have my bias to the same way as Melissa would about how she trained someone versus maybe how somebody else trained someone, right?
Exactly.
We all have our opinions. But as much as possible, I try and just lay it out there in as kind of simple layman's terms to help you understand what makes sense for you from a supplemental standpoint, how to steer free of some of the smoke screens and propaganda that are out there trying to sell you stuff that probably isn't that great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I'm so grateful that we found each other and that our paths crossed and we can help each other. Oh, you guys, we're lucky to have Jared back on the Bomb Life podcast. So thanks again, Jared, for coming on. Check out the show notes, you guys. I'll be right back. We'll go on with the rest of our show. Okay, we are back. I told you it was going to be good, right? This is why we need Jared on the show. Everyone needs to learn about creatine. And honestly, a very large percent of the population need to be on it. And now you know why. So tune in. Always email us. Let me know. It's melissavogel@gmail.com. Shoot an email into the show. You can send me a message on Instagram. I kind of live there. Shoot me a DM there. And let me know what topics you want us to cover with Jared. What questions do you have? And we're happy to keep laying them out. Now, let's shift gears into this week's episode, which kind of just goes along with it all. This girl is just on fire. I had the privilege of being on her podcast, and she is just absolutely incredible. Today's guest is Dr. Lahana Vigliano, and she is the CEO and founder of Nuvitru, a leading concierge functional wellness practice. And as a doctor of clinical nutrition, Dr. Vigliano specializes in women's health, gut function, and metabolic optimization. Say all that 10 times fast. At Nuvitru, she combines functional medicine lab testing with personalized care to uncover each patient's unique health profile, aiming to enhance both well-being and longevity. And through a holistic, science-driven approach, Dr. Vigliano empowers her clients to achieve optimal health and balance. This was such a good episode, all about women's health. We are focusing on what's going on the inside versus just the outside, lab testing, everything. This is like just such an amazing combination of everything that you guys need to know to keep moving forward. And I know after you guys listen to this, you're going to be inspired to work with her and her team, get tested, see what you really need in your life, what's really going on, what bacteria you're dealing with, what bugs, like parasites, like anything. Like they deep dive you guys. And then 2, I know you overall, in general, you're going to want to take charge of your life. So go to the show notes, as always, book a call. I am here to help you guys go in the right direction. I am here to help you guys move forward with your health, your wellness, and then in the areas that I can't help you with, and it's not my specialty and I need to stay in my lane, I will always recommend you to someone like Dr. Lahana. So we all work together. We want nothing but the best for you guys. And that's why we bring these amazing guests on the podcast. All right, everyone, enjoy the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Bomb Life podcast. Today we have Dr. Lahana Vigliano. Welcome to the show, Lahana.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I know this has been working for a while, so I'm excited.
We were talking before we hit record, and I'm like, when did we get introduced? Like, how long has this conversation been in motion and trying to get it to this point here?
Yes.
November? I'm not even kidding.
Yeah. I don't want to be dramatic and say a year, but definitely since last year.
Seriously. Now, you were on the podcast, the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast with Veronica.
Yes, I love her. She's so great.
Oh my God. Do you know what episode number that was by chance?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, but it wasn't that long ago. I want to say it launched maybe a month or 2 ago. So it's not too far away from this time of recording.
Right. And we're going to try, because this has been in the making for so long, I want to try and push it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But you guys go over to the Empowered and Unapologetic podcast and check her out. And you are also a podcast host. I mean, you do everything. You're the CEO and founder of, correct me if I'm saying it wrong, Nuvitru?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh my God. Dude, I am.
It's a lucky day. You need to play lottery or something.
Failing all of these names. Oh my God, now I can't say it.
Nuvitru?
Nuvitru. Oh my God. Nuvitru.
That's so funny. I feel like when you definitely start overthinking it, you're like, wait.
Yes. And then I start screwing everything up. And then what's the name of your podcast?
Yes, I have 2. The first one is Functional Nutrition Radio, which is more of just solo, me geeking out on all the things nutrition. And then my Power Women Wellness, where we interview women just like yourself. And we go over their balance of being healthy in their careers and being able to, quote unquote, do it all.
Right. Quotes, do it all. I love it. And we're going to put the links to your shows in the show notes too, and everything else. So you guys, this is going to be one of those episodes where you don't want to miss the show notes.
Have notes.
You are going to want to take notes. You are going to want to go to the notes, everything notes for this episode. Okay. So you specialize in women's health, gut function, metabolic optimization, everything in that realm. I have to know, How did this become what you study and what you focus on?
I know, and I don't have one of those stories that ever like, "Oh, I was diagnosed with this." I feel like you hear that a lot in the health field.
Yes,
I
we
was
do.
originally pre-med, and then I saw a
Mm.
pill for an ill for those issues, and I had kids young, so I feel like my brain also started changing the way that I viewed
Mm.
things. And so anyways, that's what got me switching from pre-med to nutrition because I'm like, I feel like we need to stop being so reactive and how can we be proactive, or how can we also understand how the body works and utilize these things like diet and lifestyle to change how we feel and have an impact on these chronic illnesses, because we're not deficient in meds. There's a time and a place for it, 1000%. But a lot of the times that's where people start and that's where they stop. And they're like, oh, I got to take this for thyroid. I got to take this thyroid medication for the rest of my life. Some people, it depends on, anyways, that's gray area. But anyways, so that's where I fell in love with nutrition. Cause I'm like, wow, this is such a foundational part. And then
Yeah.
obviously once you're in nutrition, you go down this rabbit hole where it's like all the things. And so that's why we're more of an integrative practice because we're looking at everything. But since I was 5, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. Hence why I was like pre-med. So I've always been like medical thinking my whole life. And for some reason, I don't know why, I was just like, I love the gut. So I'm going to be like a gastroenterologist, which is a GI doctor.
Yes.
Obviously, I guess in a different way, but I, for some reason, have always felt called to gut stuff. And then
Mm.
hormones, I just love because hormones are everything from female hormones to stress hormone to thyroid hormone. There's so many hormones in the body, but I just found it really cool that they were the communicators through all the different little systems in our body. So I don't know, I just found it cool and comes a little natural to me. It's not, it's complex, but it's simple at the
Yeah.
same time. And so I just love both of those things, and they both interact with each other. So that's why it's like gut hormone specific.
Yeah. I love that you just said that it's so simple yet super complex. Oh my God, that is so true. And I want people to hear and know that the simple part is like a positive. It
Yeah,
can be super, super simple, but we can leave the complex stuff and the understanding to you. Like,
exactly. I do like to geek a little bit because I do like helping people understand what everything means. Like for thyroid, for
yes.
example, like I want you to know what like TSH means when it gets tested, right? And being able to like look at your labs and be like, oh, they didn't do a full thyroid panel, like they should have or whatever. So I do like to get a little geeky.
I love that. Can we geek out on thyroid right now?
Yes, please. I love thyroid.
Because I swear every woman is either a hypo, hyper, and they don't even really know what that means. They go to the doctor, they get some tests, they get the results, and they're like, oh, you have hypothyroidism. And they're like, okay, he said I
Yeah.
have to be on it, on this medication. And we're not given any details or really answers why. And then it's almost like we're scared to not start the medication because we're like, oh my God, this is out of whack. And if I don't start it, then I'm
Yeah.
going to be even worse off. And my doctor told me all of this. And so then we just cave in a way.
Yeah.
I think it's caving and give in. Like, I know I would if I had something scary and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know where else to turn. This must be my
For
only
sure.
answer.
For sure. And honestly, I see that a lot. It's just very fear-based and especially even more intense diseases like cancers and stuff. And it's just like, we got
Yeah.
to do things ASAP. And it's like, whoa, give people a second to process, let them think through things or whatever. But I love thyroid because it is I am seeing it in practice where lots of people are getting diagnosed with hypothyroid left and right. And really the only treatment out there is thyroid medication. And so that's why I like getting a little bit deeper into understanding. Again, we kind of are deficient in thyroid hormone. In hypothyroid, that means a slow, sluggish thyroid. So you don't have enough thyroid hormone. And then hyper is you have too much thyroid hormone. But again, when we're giving meds, that doesn't address, well, why is my thyroid hormone off in the first place? And a lot of people
Exactly.
think thyroid is like metabolism and weight, which plays a part, right? I know with hypothyroid, that's the most common that I see. I don't
Mhm.
see a ton of hyper. It's common to kind of go back and forth, but I see mostly people in hypo. And
Okay.
whenever your thyroid isn't working well, I say, think of everything sluggish. So constipation, sluggish
Okay.
mood, depression, fatigue, obviously sluggish, hair loss. So sluggish growth in every regard, your hair, everything, stubborn weight loss. So think of everything just kind of slowing down because the
Okay.
thyroid is like, to me, it's like a little thermometer that regulates a lot of bodily functions, more than just our metabolism. But that's why if we have like hyperthyroid and it's too much, we'll have a fast heart rate because it's speeding it up. So your body, and you'll have higher
Mhm.
temperature or lower temperature if you're hypothyroid. So it truly is like the little thermometer that moves your body like back and forth. So when you look at symptoms, yeah, just basically think of like things that are sluggish if you're
Okay.
hypothyroid, and that's what most women are struggling
That
with.
makes sense. That makes sense. But what kicks this off?
Yeah.
What starts us in the direction? And is it always like later in life? Is it always like 30s, 40s, or
Mm,
is it younger? Because I feel like I don't hear
It
thyroid
can
issues
be
in younger
younger,
people?
but yeah, I would definitely say you're on point with like 20s, 30s,
Okay.
40s. I feel like I don't really see it too much in
Okay.
the like high school, middle school age range. It's there,
Right.
but definitely not as common.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
what
let's
gets us older people into that category of like, my thyroid's fucked now?
yes, seriously. And honestly, as I go through like the root causes too, one thing to think about is when you are thinking about it, don't think of just right now in the moment. I want you to think like a decade ago. So that's where a lot
Mm.
of people want to blame age and like it's age. No, girl, it's not age. It is all the decisions maybe in the past decade in your 20s that now you're 30 that's catching up to you. And that's not because of age, but it's, it's the college stress, drinking a lot, eating fast food, moving out of your home. Like there's so many factors. And so that's what I want you to think
Interesting.
about because it's not like, oh, I turned 30. What did I do last year? No, girl. What did you do in the last decade? And
Yeah.
that's where it feels like I was healthy one day and now I'm not well. Like, how does that happen? And it's like there's so many things that are happening cellularly deep down where you don't have symptoms yet. And then boom, you have symptoms and it feels so black and white when it's been actually happening for usually a long time. These things don't happen overnight.
Okay, so I just have to say this. So, you know how everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're in your 20s and you can get away with that. And like you can stay out all night and party and then get up and go to work at 9 a.m." Like, we're not really getting away with that.
No,
We're
no.
not. It's just delayed.
Yeah,
Okay. See?
exactly.
Little
Exactly. That's
20-year-old
exactly what it
bitches,
is.
they ain't got it better than us. Like,
No,
I love
exactly.
you're saying this. I love you even
They,
more.
it will come back to bite them.
It
And that's so
does.
funny because
Okay.
I teach my kids that of just like,
Hmm.
you may feel like you can get away with it, but you're really not.
You're
You're just
not.
delaying a diagnosis in the future.
High
So,
five. Thank you.
yes. But before we get into root causes, I just want to real quick explain the process.
Okay.
So your brain talks to your thyroid, and that is what's called TSH. So that's usually what's tested in your lab. So it's thyroid stimulating hormone. So your
Okay.
brain is talking to your thyroid, knocks on the door saying, hey, we need some thyroid hormone. It's kind of low. And then your thyroid does the process. Now there's a feedback loop. So that's what a lot of doctors rely on is this feedback loop. So if TSH is normal, they assume that everything else is normal, which is not the case. So TSH, brain, thyroid, knocking on the door. Thyroid's like, okay, I'll make thyroid hormone. Then it makes T4, which is an inactive thyroid hormone. And
Okay.
then we can talk about conversion too. But then it turns into the active thyroid hormone called T3. So T4 to T3, sometimes there's also a little subcategory of RT3, reverse T3.
Okay.
But I bring this up because if you are like, wow, I align with a lot of the symptoms in thyroid, but my doctor says my thyroid is fine. If by chance they've just tested TSH, they haven't actually tested thyroid hormone. They have tested your brain talking to your thyroid and relying on that feedback loop. But what could be happening is that even your T4, your thyroid hormone amount could be fine, but is it converting? Because that active T3 hormone is what's interacting with your cells. That's what's giving like the life to the party. So you can have all this T4, but if you're not converting it, you're still going to feel hypothyroid, even though you may not be hypothyroid, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So further testing, further diving in is what sees it looks at is that
Yes.
chain is happening.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that you're testing TSH, T4, T3, thyroid antibodies to make sure there's no autoimmunity. Because again, you're usually not going to have symptoms when that first starts. That's why it's so key to get ahead and test these things ahead of time.
Right.
So you can start seeing trends over time of like, dang, my thyroid antibody is increasing 10 points every year. Get
Okay.
ahead of it before you, wait for it. So we'll talk a little bit more about conversion, but that's really important because I feel like a lot of women get dismissed of like, TSH is fine, you don't have hypothyroid. And I'm like, well, conversion could be better. And maybe that's why you're not feeling those like really healthy thyroid symptoms, benefits. And then also in the functional realm versus integrative, we have very different ranges. So what they may feel is normal may
Mhm.
not be optimal. And that's where it's very different because again, you're in this gray area, you don't feel, well, something is off, but you keep being told, I'm fine, you're fine, you don't have hypothyroid, but are you optimal? There's very difference there. Okay. So the number one root cause for hypothyroid, which is your thyroid being sluggish, not working properly, is actually the autoimmune disease Hashimoto's. So that's lots of layers to peel back there. But some of these that I'll just mention actually is a reason for autoimmunity. But that's why I always say, please test antibodies. Now, usually I feel like most of the time they don't test antibodies in conventional. The reason why is because it doesn't change treatment. They're still going to give you thyroid hormone.
Mm.
So because it doesn't change treatment, why test for it? Now, in the integrative space, this changes the game because as I go through root causes of hypothyroid, which could be those, so if you don't have autoimmunity, probably one of these things. But if you do have autoimmunity, again, these other root causes are important. But now I know, like, shit, your body is attacking your thyroid gland. And that's why you can't make thyroid hormone. So to us, it's very important. So the first root cause for hypothyroid is just simply nutrient deficiencies. So everything, this is such a nutrient-driven process, which is where I love nutrition so much. Because when you really got into like the biochem of things, they're called vitamins because they're vital. If we don't have it, nothing in the body works. So if we're going like deep, deep, deep into like, I know, Krebs cycle in your cell's mitochondria, which is like the battery of the cell that makes like cellular energy, it runs on nutrients. You don't have a nutrient, you are not going to make cellular energy. Not making cellular energy, the tissue's going to suck. The organ is going to suck. Things aren't going to work. And that's where I just found so much love of like, holy crap, just even making thyroid hormone to thyroid conversion rely on these nutrients. Everything from iron, tyrosine, selenium, vitamin D, iodine, these are all things that are needed. So if you have a deficiency in something, of course you're not going to make thyroid hormone. Of course you're not going to convert well. Like you're not giving your body these building blocks to do that. So that's one.
Okay.
Number two is going to be stress. It impacts thyroid in a couple different ways. Stress increases. Nutrients are all about supply and demand. So stress actually increases the demand of nutrients. So deficiencies can happen is, of course, if you're not feeding your body with the right foods. It can also happen when the demand increases and maybe supply stays the same. Maybe you're just not increasing it, but you can see where it starts to like kind of shift that balance. So when we're stressed, we increase our nutrient needs and we're more likely to have nutrient deficiencies, more likely to not have those building blocks.
Interesting.
Also, stress increases, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, something called reverse T3, RT3. And stress actually increases T4. It's supposed to go to T3, a little bit go to RT3, but stress can actually increase the amount it goes to RT3. Reverse T3 is needed because it helps prevent your body having too much thyroid hormone, right? Like there's a lot of checks and balances in the body. And so that's just what RT3 is. So we need it. But if it's converting too much of that, again, then it's less active form. And then you're not going to get the cellular fun party that should be happening. So it can do that way. And then also just stress can block thyroid hormone production just in general. So I would say that's a huge factor, which is usually why in our practice, we're not just talking food. We're talking stress, we're talking sleep, we're talking sometimes past trauma, sometimes like that has
Seriously.
therapy, like those things are always a part. Like there's no one size fits all. I don't think I've ever seen a patient that like came in with hypothyroid or IBS or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's just because of this one thing. No, usually it's all these little things and now it's a big thing. So stress is two. Number three is environmental toxins, which is a very honestly loaded, very heavily loaded conversation. But everything from heavy metals to, as we know, those endocrine disruptors like the BPA, the phthalates, there's a lot of connections. I don't know if there's actually a study that says like, oh, it causes this. Again, I think it's just a small picture of it.
Yes.
And we're more than ever right now exposed to so much shit, whether it's the stuff we're putting on our body, the stuff we're spraying around us, the stuff we're cleaning with, the stuff we're burning in our house through our candles, our body wash, our shampoos. We're just exposed to so much more than we've ever been. So I think it's silly to think that it's not playing a role because I do see people, we do a lot of urine testing for toxins and I see glyphosate coming out of them. I see BPA coming out of them at super high levels, mold. And it's like, these are changing the ways our cells work. And it can definitely impact our hormones. And there are really great studies that do show, especially in female hormones, how it can block estrogen or make your testosterone turn into estrogen, certain chemicals. So it absolutely can impact thyroid too. So it's not usually the first thing we look at because there's much bigger things, as I'm going to move on to number 4, but it is a part of the picture. So the biggest thing I would say is going to be gut health. So I kind of skipped over this part of the conversion, but T4 going into T3 happens in different places of the body. It happens in the liver, in the kidneys, in the gut, and even a little bit in our muscles. And so, as I mentioned, the importance of that conversion, so we can have that active thyroid hormone that's awesome and makes us feel really good. Our gut is, like I said, a place where that conversion happens. Now, gut health is a huge driver in autoimmunity. So if you tell me, you're like, oh yeah, I have hypothyroid, and yes, my antibodies are high, I do have the Hashimoto's autoimmune form. we work on gut health, number one. So I know people, I get weird looks. They're like, I came to you for thyroid. Why are we talking about my poop? I know that seems weird, but I promise it's all connected.
It's all connected. Yeah.
So it's the first place I like to start because when there's intestinal permeability, or a simple term is leaky gut, inflammation, microbe imbalances, bacteria, yeast, parasites, those are all activating your immune system, increasing that nutrient demand, throwing that chronic inflammation in. And it's really a huge piece of the puzzle for autoimmunity. So number one, hands down, and this is any autoimmunity, lupus, honestly, you name it. I usually start with gut health and do stool testing. But the gut bacteria also, we are, not meant to just be clean, which as I don't know, I feel like in our society, everything's clean and bleached and whatever. And I think more than anything that we learned is like there's good and bad bacteria, and we're always going to have bad bacteria in our gut. But when we have that imbalance, it is going to impact our thyroid hormones. It's going to impact that conversion from T4 to T3, as I mentioned, because the gut is one of the places that it happens. And then, of course, it impacts the way we digest our foods and the way we absorb our nutrients. Like I said, you don't have the nutrients, it's not going to work. So there's all these like different pathways that it impacts it, but gut health is my most favorite way because actually, as I mentioned, the autoimmune disease part, the Hashimoto's, is majority of hypothyroid people. I don't see a ton of hypothyroid, no autoimmune. They are out there for sure, but that's a huge part. So like I said, like gut health is then that big piece of that puzzle.
Hey, Bomb Life fam, I have a question for you. Are you the kind of person who crushes it at work, shows up for your family, checks off every to-do list, but when it comes to your fitness, your energy, and your confidence, it feels like something's missing? You might be doing the workouts, listening to all the right podcasts. I mean, you are listening to this one. But deep down, you're just kind of going through the motions and you're done playing small in this area of life. That's exactly why I created Fit Mind Coaching, my private one-on-one program for high-achieving women and men who are ready to level up. This isn't just another fitness plan. This is about building the body and the mindset to match the life you're working so damn hard for. Because success in business means nothing if you're hiding in hoodies, avoiding mirrors, or dragging through your day with zero energy, or showing up on Zoom meetings feeling good from the chest up, but praying no one ever sees what's going on below the screen. We're talking about fat loss, muscle building, and real confidence that bleeds into every area of your life, your boardroom, your bedroom, and your parenting. You want it all? Good. You should have it all. Let's go. Click the link in the show notes and book your free call with me today. Let's build the strongest, most confident version of you inside and out. You're ready for more, and I'm ready to show you how. Back to the show. Holy crap. So
I threw a lot at you.
No, I mean, you very simply broke it down, which is really, really helpful. And I know it's going to open a lot of eyes for people, but I'm just sitting here listening to you going, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. But we go to the doctor and we get blood work done, and it's so just black and white. Yes, your number is above. Yes, your number is below. And no one is diving into this to give us answers. And then a lot of time you end up leaving feeling like you're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I do know something's going on, and you feel like nuts. Like for me, I know we talked about this, I think when we were talking on the phone before, my iron is all out of whack. And every time I go, my ferritin levels are drastically low. And so then I'm trying beef liver and stuff. And I'm like, but why? What's going on? And no one can give me answers. And they just want to shove more iron pills down my throat.
Yeah.
But then that causes so many other issues, and they're crap anyways. And I'm like, but I want to know why. You know, what's going on with this? How do we fix it? And I just keep hitting dead ends.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to you today.
I mean, you're definitely not alone. That happens for a lot of people. And I always have to explain to our patients that have those same concerns, worries, experiences. And I say, we all have gone through biochem, anatomy, and physiology. We've all learned about how the body works. But what's different, and that's why I said there's a time and a place for them, because sometimes medication is needed, especially if you're so symptomatic that you can't even do the basics. But what they fail at is they are there, and I think insurance plays a part too, is to find the diagnosis and their treatment, what they were learned in school. Treatment is not food. That's not what they learn. They learn what medication is for this disease. That is their training. So we need to, I think the downfall, I don't know where this happened, but it happened a long time ago, that we've put medical doctors at the top of the tier. These are the people that know all the things about health. And I would absolutely disagree. They're a part of the top, but they are not the only top. And so
Right.
what we need to understand is that there are people in different specialties like ours, right? Like we specialize in that like diet and lifestyle part, which plays a role in that. And so we, to me, are very much equal. We just serve a different part of care plans, like treatment plans. They are there for those medications and pharmaceuticals, which are sometimes needed, but they aren't trained in this. They're not trained in environmental toxins. They're not trained in food. So I think we just have to adjust our expectation. And I think when we adjust our expectation, we'd be like, okay, now I understand why their recommendations are their recommendations. And I just think, I don't know, maybe it was 60s, 70s, whatever happened there of why we think the MD is the end all be all to health is wild to me. They're just a part of the system. And that's why I'm like, you have to have a team of practitioners. You can't just have one practitioner. Like, I don't recommend just having us either. Like, have your primary doctor, have your more integrative person, have a personal trainer, have a therapist. Like, that's how you know you're getting that care. Obviously, I'm working on trying to build it all under one roof. So we do have like a trainer and I am looking to hire a therapist. So it can be a little bit more like you have your people and we're all in touch with each other. But
I love it.
yeah, that's just where it is. But iron is a really great example because they keep shoving those iron pills. And I think even before we talked, I was like, okay, well, let's go down that, right? Like, are you supplying your body with enough? Like, are you relying too much on plant iron when that's less bioavailable and you need to have more animal protein? Is it heavy cycles or heavy bleeding or bleeding like ulcers, hemorrhoids? Like, why are you losing blood? And if it is your period, well, why? Like, why is your hormones off then, right? And that's is a cycle. Is it parasites? Parasites love iron. Some parasites need it to survive and reproduce. Also, the chronic inflammation that happens with that can impair nutrient absorption and impact the way iron's metabolized in the body. Is it ability to digest? Can you break down your foods? Low stomach acid, lack of enzymes? Are you struggling to even do that to increase the nutrient levels? So you can eat all you want of iron-rich foods or liver, but if you can't break it down, then that's the issue. Are you taking medications, PPIs, antacids? And then do you have any other deficiencies in the nutrients surrounding iron? Vitamin C, vitamin A, copper, zinc, selenium, folate, B12, whatever. So those are like kind of like, I mean, I know my brain kind of works and like it goes down all these like little rabbit holes, but when you keep asking why, you will start to see, oh, that's why. Like we're starting to get somewhere.
Can you explain that connection between like the gut and the brain? Like, because we hear that a lot. And I see things on, Instagram all the time. They talk about how like your gut is like your second brain and like all of that. But why? Why does our gut specifically speak to our brain and affect our mood? And I mean, I know you kind of like already covered it, but like, do you have like one answer that'll help us really fully understand why it's so important and how, I don't know, I see a lot of people too with like alcohol and they don't understand how consuming alcohol messes with their gut and then messes with their hormones and then messes with their depression 3 days
Oh my
post,
gosh. Yeah. And they both talk to each other. So brain talks to gut talks to brain. So that's why, like, if you ever, I don't know, if you're a nervous public speaker, I'm not on podcasts, but I am in person. But like, I feel like I'm gonna have diarrhea. That's because my brain's saying, ooh, danger, danger. And my body is, some people, it's just like, oh shit, get rid of it. And then some people is like, oh my gosh, hold on to it, but whatever. So your body is constantly speaking to one another. And I think some people are more sensitive, but our gut also creates neurotransmitters. So like serotonin is really important for mood. And so that's a huge part of where serotonin is made is in the gut. And same with, and this is not mood related, but like GLP-1s are all the rage right now. GLP-1, I love GLP-1 naturally because we make it naturally in our body. And so the question of that is, well, where do you make it? Guess what? Gut health. You want better GLP-1, then you better have better gut health. And so that's why I'm like, I love the gut because it's like kill two birds with one stone. There's so much that happens there. And then also little microbes being off, maybe some that are high that shouldn't be high, they can absolutely impact the way that we, I don't know, crave food, the way if we're anxious. Like I see a lot of anxiety and depression improve so much just by shifting gut bacteria or other things, yeast overgrowth, parasites, again, those things that maybe are overgrown or they shouldn't be there. It absolutely contributes to the overall like mood. So and then, of course, I already kind of connected the thyroid, which absolutely plays a role in mood too. And I already connected the thyroid and gut. So maybe it's your gut impacting your thyroid and your thyroid's impacting mood. So that's one thing I feel like Western medicine did a disservice in a way. I get why they did that, but they've broken our body into parts like gut doctor, heart doctor, brain doctor, when we can't do that. if you have IBS, you're going to a GI doctor, right? Like, oh, my bowel's irritable. But what if it's irritable and maybe there's some bacterial stuff in there or whatever, but what if it's irritable because you're really stressed? And if you take like a step back, because stress is such a factor for a lot of IBS stuff, and it's like, okay, well, we need to calm down your nervous system. Oh, look at that. Your gut starts to improve. So like we can't split our bodies into organ parts. They
No.
all impact one another.
So if someone wanted to start working with you, what's the first step and you do everything virtually too,
Yeah.
correct? Like
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have patients all over. I recommend going to our website, Nuvitru, Nuvitru.com. And there's a services page where you fill out the form, and then it'll take you to a page that is a video of all of like our offerings, pricing, how we work. I created that. It answers like 90% of questions people have. And then
Nice.
below that video is my calendar. So usually I recommend doing like a little intro call, like 20 minutes, just so I can understand you. You can ask me questions. And honestly, we may not be a fit for you and you may not be a fit for us. So that's why I have those calls, because I am kind of not picky to work with, but I just want to make sure and feel confident like, oh, we can help you. We got you. And if that's not the case, I might be like, we are probably not going to be a fit for you. So that's why I have the call. And then from there, that call will decide on kind of like a loose game plan of like, what lab should we prioritize? Should it be stool testing? Should it be micronutrients, whatnot? What have you had done? If you are coming, maybe we have a lot of patients who have already seen functional doctors and they're still not feeling well. So they'll bring their lab work. I'm not during the call, I won't go over it, but we'll talk about what they have had done, which is helpful. But yeah, that's kind of our process, but don't give up if you feel like, oh, I've seen everyone. I've seen conventional, I've seen functional, I've seen
Good point.
integrative. That is most of our patients, truly, and we still get results. So I don't want that to scare you. It used to scare me when I first started in business 10 years ago, because I'm like, wait, you've done everything. How can I help? And I've learned, I'm like, holy crap, we just practice a bit differently. And so we can still get those results. And if you feel like you're eating pretty healthy, you're active, you're mindful of toxins, that's most of our patients too. I don't get a lot of standard American diet eaters. I think that's a misconception too of like, well, you probably see people who eat like shit, you know? No, I actually, most of our women are literally trying their best with their protein and veggies and all that. And they're actually not doing awful and they're still having issues. So if that's you, again, you're not broken. Don't worry. I see it a lot.
That's a really good point, because I totally was. That's what I was thinking. But it takes someone probably different and special and open-minded to work with someone like you, and they're already like trying to do good, and now they want the best, you know? And then from there, do you decide like what type of labs you want? Or are we talking like blood, urine, stool, all of it, hair? Like what are your labs like?
We do blood, urine, stool, all that, but I like to do one lab at a time because as you can see, when you start improving gut health, you're going to start improving all these other things. And so I think it's a waste of money, and it's just so overwhelming of like, I don't want to look at your hormones yet, because what's impacting your hormones? Let's work on that. Then we can look at your hormones. And so I much prefer that to reduce the overwhelm. So I like to do one lab at a time, and one lab at a time.
And then one consultation, like after that, like then do you go back and forth with another call, get on?
Most people are in one of our memberships, which is where our membership is an all-inclusive. So it includes labs, it includes supplements, it includes patient care, it includes all the things. And then we have another option called a BYOB, build your own bundle, you'll not bring your own beer, where you can pick and choose instead of what you want. Like, okay, I want care and labs included, or I want care, labs, and supplements included. And so I want to commit to 3 months. And so there's like different amounts of commitment time. So that I have a fun little chart in the video that kind of breaks that down of like what it would cost per month and all that. So most of the time we're working with people longer term, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Cause again, we're kind of working in phases.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is helpful. And the other thing that I would say too, because everyone is so damn scarred, which I get, is we are not, yes, supplements are a part of the process, but I feel like most people, anytime they see like a naturopath or even functional, it's like a natural pill for an ill. So it's not a pharmaceutical pill for an ill, but we've kind of just switched to like, oh, you have inflammation, here's turmeric. No, there's more to it than that. We have to understand why inflammation's happening. But I do see a lot of people are so nervous, like, you're just going to put me on a bunch of supplements. Supplements, it depends on what your lab tests say. That's why I always wait for labs to tell me like, okay, what do we need to support you with? But a lot of the times they shouldn't be long-term. So I do want to like kind of ease people's worries there, because they are nervous of like, you're just going to give me a bunch of supplements and go on your way. But that's not the case, but they are a part of the journey. But I'm very mindful of like what we give. We also compound, which is really great, that a lot of other practices don't do. So we literally, I create a formula specific to your labs and what you have going on. And I send it off to the manufacturer and they create your own formula inside your capsule. and we ship it off in a pretty little Nuvitru bag, and you have what you need at the right dosing that you need. So that's great.
Interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because that was my next question. I just try to act as the listener. Like, what would they be asking? What would they want to know? How can I play devil's advocate? And that was the thing is like, so I just start taking supplements. Like, where do I get them from? So I'm glad you answered all of that. I love how you have this all set up for support and follow up, but you get to choose.
Yes.
You
Yes.
get to pick what path you're taking too.
Yeah. Most of our patients are in biweekly, so we meet them every other week, but with the biweekly includes unlimited texting. And I actually just posted on my Instagram story because it's very different. This is a very different experience. I feel like some people are like, whoa, this is so different. I think we're used to like, you meet with your practitioner and like, hey, see you in 3 weeks or whatever. But all the things that happen are like in between those sessions. And so that's why like with our app, like you're texting anytime you need us, if you're in that biweekly, if there is a monthly where we only meet once a month, but it includes very limited text, because obviously if you're choosing monthly, then you probably don't need a ton of support. But most of our new patients who are struggling with something are in biweekly. And it's just so great. Like I was just talking to a patient about, she took her poop sample today and she's like, I never thought I'd be excited about poop. I'm like, yes, you go poop queen or whatever. And so that's what I'm saying is just like, we're not a cold, stuffy, I don't know, like we're just humans doing humans and we're just real and it's fun. And it's just a very different experience, which is great.
I love that. This has been like so insightful and helpful because I don't think we can get enough education about this stuff out there. Like,
no.
I mean, we have talked about thyroid and hormones and things on this podcast, but every time we have a new professional and doctor and CEO on here, we get a new perspective. And I think that opens the brain a little bit more to, being open, getting help, having a better understanding of it, because knowledge is power. Like I'm so big on like learn, and then take action.
100%. And like, I think it's so great because every practitioner has their own thing. So like I may not be your cup of tea, and that's fine because maybe you're not my cup of tea, but maybe you'll find someone else that's your cup of tea. But as long as you are being able to advocate for yourself and again, just even understand what the heck is TSH. And that's why like when we do labs, I usually am the one doing the video and I like to go through everything of like what everything means and versus like thyroid's off, let's give you thyroid meds. Like that's crazy. So everyone, has their different like sauce and flow, but I love geeking out about this stuff. I can talk about this stuff forever. And I feel like we only touched the surface, but
I know. And you're freaking adorable. Like it doesn't get any better than that. Where can everyone find you? Tell us your website, tell us your social media. I want you guys, again, the show notes is going to be huge for this episode. So dive in there. We'll put all the links, but I love for everyone to tell us too.
Yes. All social media is Nuvitru, Nuvitru wellness, all one word. Instagram is like my favorite place to be. I am on TikTok. Seriously. Well, I'm not on TikTok, but my stuff is on TikTok and all these other places, but Instagram's like I'm in DMs. If you have any questions, like DM me, like I that's me that you're talking to. And then our website's nuvitru.com. And that's where you can find all the information about services and I don't know, some articles, our podcast, all that fun stuff.
I love it. Oh my God. Lahana, thank you so much for coming on today. This was like incredible, so insightful. I want everyone to have an open mind to this episode and really reach out if you feel like you've been struggling or hitting walls, or even if you're someone who's like, I think I'm living a really good life, but let's find out. Let's find out if I'm optimized, not just doing good.
Yes.
That's what I want. That's what I want for everyone listening. So you're amazing. Thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me. We made this happen. I'm so excited for us. Actually.
We did. Oh my God. We plowed through. It took us a year, but we did it, girl.
I love it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time.
The Bomb Life podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared here is not intended as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any health, fitness, financial, or legal decisions. The opinions shared on this podcast are personal experiences and insight. So if you need expert guidance, go find the right professional for you. Thanks for listening.